Welcome to World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary Boss, the podcast for busy professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners who want to travel smarter, save money, and plan unforgettable trips without the stress. I'm Ross, your host and the founder of Itinerary Boss. I spent a decade building a career in healthcare, software, and medical device sales while planning both personal and business trips across more than 20 countries. Whether it was group getaways with friends, couples trips, or just mapping out business territories, I became the go-to person for saving money on flights, organizing those logistics, and using points to elevate the experience. Now, as an entrepreneur and business owner, I help others do the same by showing you how to travel better using points, smart planning, and those proven strategies. Each week, we bring you expert guests, step-by-step tutorials on points and miles, and real-world itineraries that we've used to help you plan with confidence. Whether it's using points to travel better, exploring a new destination, or just learning how to maximize your spending, we've got you covered. Before we dive in, go ahead and grab one of our free tools in the show notes. One, the points and miles cheat sheet that'll help you get started earning and redeeming points to save thousands on travel, or the stress-free travel toolkit that includes a budget guide, packing checklist, and planning tips to save you time and hassle. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or busy professional looking to choose your next credit card or get help maximizing your everyday spending for rewards and booking free travel, book a free one-on-one consultation. You can find the link within the show notes or head over to itineraryboss.com. And if this episode helps you, please share it with a friend or family member, follow the show, and leave a 5-star review. It's the best way that helps us grow. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy. On this week's episode, I'm excited to have Eric Creekmore. He's the founder of the app There, and he's a serial entrepreneur who's built up many companies over his career. I got the chance to connect with Eric just from another Points and Miles podcast that I heard him talking about the app he was creating. And just through that, through many conversations, I'm really excited to bring him on and share more what they got going on. How's it going, Eric?
Hey, buddy. Good to see you, and thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming on. So, could you let our listeners know a little bit more about what you're building it there and then just, what led you to start that?
Yeah. So again, founder of Their Technologies, and originally it came from just traveling around a bunch and having all these relationships all over the world. And I'm sure you've been in a situation where you landed somewhere, you saw someone's Instagram story, and you had no idea that someone you actually cared about was in town too. But you guys both had plans. But if you had known earlier, you probably would have made some plans to actually meet up with them. So just missing people was just happening way too much in my life. And, my relationships and my network, has made me more money and obviously more experiences than anything else in this world. So I value them deeply. So just missing one person was painful enough for me to figure out a solution to make sure at least I didn't know, someone was going to be in the same city as me that I actually cared about. So that's how it originally started. I was running into people like in Bali, for example, that I knew from the States. And it's like, man, sitting at the bar by myself. And it's like, I really would rather have someone here I knew. So yeah, man, I just about 3 years ago bootstrapped the prototype, got my whole network on it, started really getting some traction. A lot of value was being added. It just turned into, this was actually a really big problem we were solving. During this point, we were going to go to market and create, a real full blown business with this thing. And, because I bootstrapped it, it was bootstrap quality, meaning it was a prototype. So therefore going into, large membership networks or, high net worth individuals, that data and security was an issue. And, the way that we built it wasn't very scalable. So we had to kind of take a pause. And during that pause, what we realized was, proximity was just a feature. What we were really solving for was timing and trust, right? Because you think about, the way that technology is going, AI, when it's all said and done, AI is going to do most everything. But the thing that's going to be left, the true north, is going to be human trust, right? So we've built technology and systems around this, and it's evolved from an app to now a fully agentic, basically personal strategist for yourself that manages all of your relationships, uncovers opportunities, connects dots that you could never before, just sits ambiently in the background. All the data is stored on your phone. So I guess that's my long-winded way of saying it's been a long ride, and it's exciting. We're pretty much there to go to market now, and got some unbelievable technology and some novel ideas and patents in place to protect it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, I've gotten to watch part of that ride when I reached out probably about a year ago, and I think you went on the podcast that I heard probably 6 months prior, and just seeing how it's evolved. And when I heard about it, I was just put myself in exactly what you just said, right? There's so many different times where maybe you're traveling, and funny enough, like when we went to Bali recently for our honeymoon, we actually had a friend who we knew from Northern Virginia who actually was there staying we were staying at the Alila Seminyak and they were staying at the W, and they were there. The only thing that was in between us was Potato Head Club, and we didn't even realize that till like the day of, and they were like, "Oh, we're leaving tomorrow." And if we had known that they were in Bali at the exact same time, we would have made those plans. So just on a personal level, absolutely. But yeah, I think now, especially in the day of social media, where you're trying to keep up with, every single platform, right? Whether you're texting, whether you're, shooting messages on LinkedIn, all of that, preparing for events, like as a sales rep, as a business owner, as someone who plans travel and is always doing that, like right when I heard you talk about it, I was like, this is something that is much needed. And then just now seeing how it's evolved just to leveraging AI agents, like that's really, I mean, just thinking of everyone having a personal assistant in your pocket, it's a game changer. And that's something we've used for, 2.5 years, and just seeing how much you can grow from that. Like I'm excited just to see exactly, what's going to come of it and to see you guys take off. So no, kudos to you guys in building it and just how it's evolved over the past couple of years I've been following.
Yeah, man, you're like everyone else, man. There's just so much noise. I mean, social media and technology kind of over delivered. It was supposed to connect us, and really what it made was it made it more convenient, right? It made it more convenient to be online, to be behind a screen, to text instead of call, to text instead of meet up. So, we're in a perfect place right now and perfect time where everyone is very, very in tune with technology. Everyone, for the most part, is burned out and, kind of overwhelmed with the noise. So we're just going to take technology and kind of use a judo move of getting people back together, because I think that's the thing that's missing. I mean, you start thinking about it in
Hey, I
business.
wanted to take a quick break to say thank you so much for tuning into the show. The only way the show grows is through listeners like you helping us share it. So if you're enjoying the show, it'd mean the world to me if you hit that 5-star rating, shared it with a friend or family member who's ready to travel more, save money, or just needs a little bit more inspiration and that nudge. And if you're posting about it on Instagram, go ahead and tag Itinerary Boss, and we'll make sure to reshare it and shout you out for giving us a shout out. Thanks so much for the support. It truly means a lot. And now back with the show.
In business sense, if you had a Zoom meeting with, someone for business, and yet I was going to be in your city, you're probably going to move that Zoom meeting and take the one in person with me.
Hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. And earlier this summer when I was just like, you know what, I need to go meet up with a bunch of people. I'd had probably like 20 coffee meetings a month just to be like, you know what, these are people that I can help, but also they can help me out too. So just having that 30 to an hour long coffee meeting or just meeting up with people in person, it's such a different dialogue. And I think now you're seeing just everyone wanting to go to events. Like I'm going to three this upcoming fall, but there's really that desire to get back out there versus just sit on these virtual meetings. And I've heard it in plenty of people who have crushed in the online course industry and this and that. It's like as AI gets more important, people are gonna want more of that trust because you can put something in and right pop it out, but then it's going to be social media. So it's like if you can build up that branding and be that trusted advisor in whichever market you serve, that's going to be huge over the next coming years.
Yeah, I mean, even like you're spending a ton of money going to, conferences and doing this networking, a lot of energy and time. Half the time it's super awkward going in, looking at people's name tags, and the old style of networking I just think is outdated. we've all got enough contacts in our phone now. Like we're literally one person away from anything we ever need for the most part. So we start thinking about these events and how you think that they're valuable, you hope that they're valuable, you kind of know the people that are going to be there, but if you were to know who's going to be there and or the people that you meet there, those relationships don't get lost as soon as you leave that room, because typically that's what happens, especially if you don't live in the same city. You just spent time connecting, really genuinely connecting with someone, and you have real genuine intent to do business with them, but the follow up is hard. It's legitimately hard to follow up after a conference because you've got not only all the stuff you learned at the conference, but you've got a stack of cards. And then you have to follow up with these people to make sure that there's still genuine interest there. And then you have to triage. And then you have to, again, that manual follow up. It takes real effort to build relationships with someone. So I think that this thing's going to shake up the event world. You know, typically when you go to these events, some of them have apps and stuff that you download. But as soon as you leave there, you delete the app, right? So that's the whole point of this is once you leave there, you're going to have a ton of micro events or micro events that are available to you from all the people that you've ever met, let alone at that conference, because you start thinking about communities or networks on scale. When you start looking into the future and people that have travel plans or home bases, that all of a sudden there's these future aligned gatherings of people that are significant to you 2 months from now, well, people might not know that they're in the same city or the same vicinity, but they should know. And what does that mean? Does that mean you want to go there? Does that mean you should throw an event? Does that mean you guys should do dinner? Or does that mean maybe you should make some introductions since they're going to be in the same city? Like it's just being able to connect dots that we never could before, and just no one's solving for, you know, future proximity. And really that's a big thing that activates your network. So it's kind of like the difference of having a CRM and knowing when to use it.
Yeah. No, I love that breakdown, and I feel like when people a lot of the times when people come somewhere, you get a text like an hour before, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm in your city. Do you want to get dinner?" And it's like, my week's kind of been planned out since last week, right? But being able to make that connection with them and understand that, or also just have an agent and an assistant to do that is huge. And being able, like you said, being able to, if you travel too, I think one use case I like is if you're going somewhere and you know maybe that person lives in that city, from whether you follow them or whatnot, like you can automatically set those up and try to get a meeting set up with that person when you're there and make it convenient for them. Because if you're trying to do business with them, that's the, you're giving that value. So now I love that. And yeah, the event space, that's just a whole nother ball game, especially trying to follow up. It's so manual, and by the time you get done and there's so many outlets and just yeah, that's half the battle.
Yeah, I mean, it's you start thinking about the money and time that you spend to coordinate just one meeting, right?
Hmm.
Especially traveling. And even if you have an EA, like a really good EA, they're going to do the same thing that most other EAs do. They're going to go to their short list of the city that you're going to. They're going to reach out by whatever means they have, text, email, LinkedIn, whatever, give a heads up that you're going to be in town, try to figure out if they're available, try to book a meeting in their empty space of their calendar. Um, but you know, not only does that take time, it's very inefficient because not only are you missing people that don't live in New York that are going to be in New York, but even the best EAs, they don't know context. They don't know actually how you make money. They just have a list of people that live in New York that you either gave to them or they looked up. But they're scheduling it into people that you probably haven't never done business with, or you never will, or that's not important to you anymore. Cool thing is like you got all this data on your phone, all this context on your phone, text, email, calendar, right? The ability to store context in your own localized agent on your device so that it can at any point know who Eric Creekmore is to Ross Alcorn, then now it becomes more relevant based on your intent. So those are the people that you'd be setting meetings with. versus just spray and pray. And then all of a sudden you're sitting down with someone that's wasting an hour of your time.
Yeah. No, I love that. And as you're talking, I'm just thinking the use cases of just if I see someone on Instagram follow someone or someone on LinkedIn has a mutual connection, I then have to go text that person or send them a message or see who's a second or third degree. And it's just, it's the extra work you have to put in to get business done. But the fact that you can now make that a lot easier and streamlined, like that's a game changer. And that's so huge for, and like you said, EAs can do a good job, but they might be right. You're kind of spraying and praying of, yeah, this person might be a good fit, but the fact that you then can compile that data and then really focus in on those warm targeted leads, it's just the ROI people are gonna get back is great. And as you use things more and more, right, software apps, like the better they get to know you, the better the agent will get to know your processes, what you're looking for, right? What are those, I'm guessing probably like a CRM, right? What are those different close rates? What are your preferences? Where are you traveling to most? Who are you meeting with the most? So yeah, I feel like that's where for business owners, executives, VCs, people like that, that's probably where it would create the most value. Am I right? Or are there other areas that you guys are?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a hard thing to just identify the one thing we do good, because what we're actually creating is the infrastructure that's been missing for a very long time, and that's relationship intelligence, right? It's the layer that sits actually beneath everything we do, because relationships are everything. Like everything starts from relationships. So if you start thinking about, if you were to go and apply for a job, and I know you're anti-job now, you probably wouldn't post a resume, would you?
No.
What would you do?
I would say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. This is what I've done in the past. If you've worked with me, please comment or on LinkedIn. But the first thing I would do is I would just hit up the people that I know are at that level of what I'm looking to make or who know the right people. Or I'd probably go back to my former employers if I wanted to go where I did a good job and hit up my former bosses who could then give me people who have recommended me. So rely on my network. It's all about who you know.
100%. So that's what we're doing is we're unlocking our network here, and there's multiple ways that we unlock it. And a big one is introductions. And I've honestly made a name for myself and a career for myself by just introducing good people to each other. you know, Relationship capital, it's thrown around a lot. I don't think people really understand necessarily what it is. They definitely don't know the value of it. You can't exactly define what an introduction means and value, right? And building relationship capital could be as simple as introducing two good people, right? Because now you've provided value to someone. See, I learned this the hard way, and I think I've been pretty good at it. I would consider myself a super connector, not a networker, but a super connector, one that strategically builds the right relationships well, right? And I foster them, I grow them, because I think that they are the most important currency we have. So if we dive into relationship capital a little bit, it's this economy that is there that people use, but no one knows how to define it or assign a value to it. And then there's this game that the elites play that builds relationship capital properly, that deploys relationship capital properly, but no one's teaching it. There is no roadmap for it. There is no instruction manual for it. There's no thought leadership on it. You go back to 2020, and prior to 2020, there was a ton of content and thought leaders around networking, how to work the room, read this book so you know how to win, friends and influence people. Like There's none of that. If you go back to YouTube right now, since 2020, I guarantee you there's less than 5 videos that talk about networking and how to actually talk to people in person and build relationships. Partly because, like, I think, again, being behind a screen has become so prevalent that most people are turned off by these big events and going to network in person. So where the real value comes in is trusted referrals, right?
100%.
Who do you know already in your network that has what you need, or who do you know in your network that needs what you have? And at worst case scenario, that answer is no. You're one person removed from that either way. So it's like being able to, on scale, connect these dots will now help the normal person become a better super connector, be someone that has real relationship capital. And then the AI we've built in will now actually be a strategist for you to actually coach you on these opportunities, what you should do, right? It's the game that has never been put on paper. It's the guide that we all wish we had, the mentor we had that said, hey, you got a conference coming up next week. There's 5 people you know that are going. Would you like me to schedule a Zoom meeting before you go to that
That's
meeting so you guys can catch up?
that's huge.
I would love that. Great, let's do that. You have the Zoom meetings, and it's like, hey, should we do a dinner the night before the event? Yeah. Can we all bring one person? All of a sudden, you have 10 solid people you know sitting around a dinner table at a before a conference that you feel super nervous about, and you don't really know anyone there. But this dinner table, what happens over a 2 or 3 hour dinner? Everyone bonds, deals are done. What happens the next day when you walk into that conference? You look like a stud because you have 10 people that know you and that are talking to you.
Yep. That's it is, I mean, it's so true. And that's I love that just breakdown because I mean, just thinking, just reverse engineering, usually when you go to a conference, it's, hey, let me get the names of the attendees who are going. Usually you have to pay a certain cap, so you have to be a mega sponsor. If you don't have those, you're like, all right, let me find someone on LinkedIn or Instagram or the Facebook group who's posted, hey, I'm attending. Then you have to see, does that person fit? Who do I know? So like there's so many mental gymnastics that go through that. And then you might have one or two people that you end up connecting with. So it's, yeah, that's huge. And just being able to coach through too, it's just similar to like a Zoom sales call, right? If you take that recording and you say, hey, grade me on this, what could I do better? It's literally doing that for you when you're going and having those in-person connections. And if you haven't done it before, that's huge. If, they aren't as common now, so sometimes you might be a little bit rusty, but being able to have that assistant there and that coach is, I mean, on top of everything else you guys are building, I mean, that's a game changer.
Yeah. I mean, you start thinking about, because I mean, our go to market is actually a B2B play. B2C will happen because obviously these networks are made up of consumers. But just think about like Soho House, for example. I'm a member here in Chicago. When I walk in, there's an app that shows, hey, there's 230 people here. It's got their quick bio, it's got their Instagrams, it's got a picture. But what do you do with that? Like, literally, what do you do with that? It's just the same way if you were to go to a conference. Like, what do you do with that? Do you add them? Do you message them? It's a little weird.
Yeah.
If you do that, what do you say? And then if they respond, what do you like? What's the action? Do you meet at the bar and like have a date? Like
Yeah.
what? Like, it's weird. But what's not weird is if Soho had their own membership AI agent that could see when people are there or going to be there or even in different cities together, they could make the introduction so that it's not weird
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's someone else introducing them, not you reaching out being weird.
Yeah. And it can see who maybe those mutual connections are, who, right? Why should you reach out to them? Oh yeah, my old job when we'd go to conferences, they they'd be like, all right, well, we aren't going to buy a pass, but you need to try to set meetings and message them on the app, and we don't have this. And it's like, that is awkward. Hey, come meet me in the alley. Like that's that's what it felt like. And no, I mean that's it's huge.
I mean, it's kind of like the early days of LinkedIn is where we're trying to get back to is like when LinkedIn first started, you actually knew everyone on LinkedIn, right? But now it's become this basically sales arena.
Yep.
Everyone that's DMing you or adding you is just pitching their service. You don't know if you know them or not. So either you just add everyone or you just add nobody. And then it's like, who do I even know on here? What's even real? Like anyone can go in their bio and say they're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Is that real? I don't know. So, being able to actually take the people that you know, care, and like, and have them in a place where there is not only these dots that you can connect, but the network can connect the dots for you on scale to present opportunities that you would have no longer or you would have never been able to put together.
Yeah. That's I mean it's I'm just thinking back through, people that I connected with a few years ago. And then when I started this business, they were, we had connected on real estate investing. We had connected on these things. And all of a sudden, they were like, oh, this is awesome. Tell me more. And that's just from relationships built over. And then you have one conversation, they go, you know what? You need to connect with these two people. Hey, you need to, and it just, because that there's that trust. And that's how, I mean, a lot of the times that's how business gets done. And it's not right. It's just connecting. And then too, you're going to that meeting that, okay, this person's vetted. And we always make a joke. My wife and I were connected through my one of my best friends and her best friends. And we were like, well, we were vetted, so it speeded up the process versus having to go through that awkward, right? 6, 9 month stage. But that person is vetted, so you already know, okay, this person trusted them, I trust them. Okay, now let's do that versus, and that's, social platforms are great to get leads and everything, but that's how real deals are going to get done and close that sales cycle and honestly just help you work with people that you like and enjoy to work with.
Yeah, so talking about vetting and verifiable trust. So I'll kind of tease the long-term vision of this thing. So the long-term vision of this is going to be being able to take what we see as like a credit score today, but actually having a score to your relationship capital. You'll know what makes it go up, you'll know what makes it go down, and then what that will become is a verifiable score that you can cross-reference just like your credit score. It's not going to be like some clout thing where you're posting or it's visible, but if you meet someone or are introduced to someone and if you're trying to do business or get on their calendar, you're going to have to provide your score to them so they can verify you are who you say you are, right? And that they're not wasting their time. Well, take that a step further and having verifiable relationships on the blockchain, where if I say I know, I don't know, Donald Trump, he's my bestie, prove it,
Yeah,
right? And now you've got this whole economy that's coming to life. And what that allows for is for you to start assigning value. So just imagine tokenizing now your relationship capital, your score, right? Now becomes a valuable asset, which is a $3 trillion economy.
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that is going to be an absolute game changer, and I'm excited to see where that all goes, and just yeah, just thinking through. I mean that being able to get there is going to be huge, and being able to have that score too. I like because it's nowadays it's hey, could I get a meeting or hey, could I do this? And it's like, what's the purpose? And as you get busier, business owners, right? Like it's luckily for me, like most things come through referrals, whether it's new podcast guests, people I know, but that's just like we've talked about through built up trust, where it's like, hey, you should bring this person on or you should connect with that person. And it's the same for you. And I think that's huge where you can have that score And then it isn't, hey, we're wasting each other's time. This isn't a good fit. If you are super busy and someone's coming, to try to do business, like right off the bat. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
With AI and deep fakes and, social media has been like this for a while with these influencers and stuff, like claiming they're making hundreds of millions of dollars and doing X, Y, Z. And it's like, how is that verifiable?
Yeah.
Like anyone can say anything on the internet and anyone can believe anything on the internet. But again, back to what is going to be the ultimate litmus, in my opinion, it's human trust.
Yep. Yep. No, 100%. That is what everyone's talking about who's, knows what they're talking about. And, I'm excited to see it because yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about it, social media is tough sometimes. It's hard to be an influencer. Sometimes you don't want to do all that stuff and right, you get burnt out. So it's like if you just have that trust, you can have a little amount of followers and have a big impact and work with the people that you like.
That's it, man. It's the name of the game.
Well, awesome. Well, Eric, I appreciate you coming on. This was great. Where can our listeners find you? And is there a best way to get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, I think the best way is their-app.com. That's thr-app.com. We are going through a rebrand. So if you want to just reach out to me on Instagram, would probably be the easiest. It's Creekmore, Creekmore, and then two underscores.
Cool. And listeners, we'll make sure to share all that in the show notes and we'll tag Eric in the post when it goes out. But again, appreciate you coming on. And if this is your first time listening, make sure you give us a follow or subscribe. That way you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Make sure you share it with a family or friend that likes to travel or wants to start saving money on points and miles. And make sure you hit that 5-star review. That helps us grow the show and keep doing this. Thanks again, Eric.
Thanks, buddy.